Hi there and welcome back to the channel. My name is Cris. I am the manager at Paissa and Bernat. Thank you for following, and this week we have a special second video which is going to be a questions and answers video. I'm going to include below a timeline of your questions and in what minute you can revisit the answers to that. So please see below in the description links, and let's go ahead. For those of you that are visiting us in April, you're more than welcome to bring anything that you would like us to store for you towards the wedding day. So basically how this works is that we're going to ask you that you please bring your elements that you want to be stored in a small carry-on suitcase, and we are going to tag this and we will put this away. If there's anything that's fragile, you will have to let us know. So anything like glass or any liquids, we will make sure that that's stored properly for you until the day of the wedding. If for any reason you can't make it for the tasting event, then there is the option of you visiting at a different time of the year. I will leave the link below in the description and you can book a visit with us, and also at that time you would be able to leave anything that you want us to store for the wedding. Then on the day of the wedding at 10 a.m. we open our doors, and from that time onwards you're going to have your suitcase ready for you, so that if there's anything that has to be set up in terms of decorations, I would ask you that it's someone within your party that takes care of that. So that could be the boys or anyone that you think that is suitable for this job. And anything that's got to do with table arrangements, we will need to have that pre-arranged pie table and according to the table plan. In terms of wedding planning, at Paissa and Bernat we don't offer full comprehensive wedding planning. For this we have a list of vendors that we recommend. If you want to hire a wedding planner, you're more than welcome to do so. But we do offer you the coordination on the day. That is part of the service. I'm going to be taking care of that myself. So basically how it works is that there's going to be two parts of that. So the part of communicating with suppliers and the part of the day itself. So first of all, you have the communications, and I'm going to gather from you who your vendors are for the day, and closer to the day of the wedding I'm going to send them a reminder of the wedding day, of the timings and any elements that they need to take into consideration. When I send this email out, you're going to be in copy and you will be able to see how that works. In terms of wedding planning here as well, I will be sending you within the next few weeks, and together with these videos, the formats for transportation. So we're going to start arranging that as from next week. Table plan, I've got that on a program, so you're going to be able to draw out where the tables are and all of that. Questionnaires for the sound and music for the day, and any other elements we're going to be dripping that towards you in the next few weeks. Closer to the time, it would be a good idea that you provide your suppliers with a contact point at each location. So that would be, in this case, bride and groom, and I would also include maid of honor and best man, just to make sure that there's a second person at each location in case they couldn't get through to you, or for any reason there's no signal. It's good to have a second option on the list. And then please include my contact. I'm going to include this already below in the description, so that you can add that to your wedding notes in case you're starting to send that out already, and they can call me at any time if they've got any questions. Then in terms of wedding planning, or as we would call it, day coordination on the day of the wedding, we open our doors from 10 o'clock in the morning, and from this time your vendors can start arriving to set up. If there's anything that requires more hours towards setting up, please get in touch with me, send me an email, give me a little bit more of information, and we can see how we can arrange this for you. We help you with the setup of anything that's got to do with the table, so name placements, menus and wedding favors. If there are any other elements that have to be set up on your behalf, then I would need to know this beforehand so that I can factor that into my team structure, and I maybe add an extra pair of hands, and I also need to factor that into your quote. Usually that is not going to be the case, and it's quite simple, so as long as everything's neatly arranged, we can set this on the tables on your behalf, and it should be quite straightforward. So on the day of the wedding, I also make sure that everything goes to schedule. You have been given a timeline. You are going to have a second person that's going to help you, and that is someone within your party, if not a wedding planner, to make sure that the time schedule goes ahead, especially during the morning hours getting ready. After that, we fully take over and we make sure that everything falls within the timelines that are set. If for any reason we fall behind schedule, or things have to be moved forward, then I will be letting you know. So to find your timings, I would recommend that you revisit your quote. If you scroll down to the bottom of the page before the catering payments, just on top, you're going to find the breakdown of the hours of the day. Those timings have already been arranged, and I also wanted to remind you at this point that day hire weddings have a finishing time of midnight, and bookings with accommodation will finish at 1 o'clock in the morning. If you're having trouble finding your quote, send me an email and I can send that to you. Also, as I mentioned in my last video, if there's any changes that you want to make to this schedule, right now is the best time to do that before you start sending out emails to suppliers to reconfirm timings. If there's any change in terms of the ceremony time, then that is highly recommended that you do let your celebrant know, because they could have more than one booking on the day. Photographers and videographers usually block out the whole day for you. Any changes, please get in touch with me and we can look at making that happen during the next few weeks. When it comes to printouts and table plan, anything that's got to do with decoration and displays, this is going to be self-provided by yourselves. So we will be sending you a table plan for catering purposes. However, this is not the table plan that you're going to be using for display. You can bring it to us on the morning of the wedding. We'll be putting this on the table on your behalf. And then the table plan, that is something that can be set up by yourselves. If you need an easel or if you need anything to hold this, then we do have some elements in our hire catalog, and if not, you can just hang it on a string or whatever you have decided in terms of presentation. So the next question has got to do with entertainment, and more specifically on games for adults or games for children. You can bring anything that's got to do with gaming with you on the day of the wedding, or you can also bring that to me in April and I'm happy to store that for you. The venue is quite large, so you can set this up in any corner that you find suitable. If you have any larger elements of entertainment, I'm thinking more specifically about children and maybe bouncy castles or a photo booth for the adults, then in this case, please get in touch with me, because we're going to have to decide on where we're going to set this up. My first thoughts are going to be that in terms of the photo booth station, a good location for this would be under the covered terrace. And bouncy castles, it will depend on the size. If it's not too large, it can be set up close to where the event is happening. However, if the bouncy castle is too big, then this will need to be set up in the car park area. It is quite far away from where the event is happening, so I would reconsider and maybe downscale your bouncy castle so that you can bring it closer and have this set up within closer grounds to where the event is happening. If you have a supplier that has never worked with us, then I would also recommend that you ask them to come and visit us, because then we can see what they need in terms of space for setting up and discuss what is more suited for them. If you've decided to have a cake on the day of your wedding, then there's a few elements that you need to factor in. First of all, there is the delivery. Please ask that your supplier that is providing the cake, that they do the delivery 1 hour before the time of the cake cutting. The reason being because we don't have the appropriate space for storage, and we don't really want the cake to be out of the fridge for too long, and we prefer that it is managed by the same person from start to finish. So that supplier will come in and they will be setting it up wherever it's going to be displayed. In terms of cake, another thing to take into account is the cake stand. So I have seen many wedding cakes come to the villa and they are set on a base that is the one on which the cake maker is working on. I highly recommend that in terms of presentation, if you're going all the way and deciding that you are going to have a cake, that you decide also to put this on a cake stand. It just looks much nicer, and these can be rented directly from your cake supplier, or we have some options in our hire catalogue. You just need to make sure that you have the measure of the cake and that matches the cake stand size. If you decide to hire the cake stand through us, then please let them know that they are going to have to pass this on to the stand, because I feel that they probably have a better take on how to handle the cake. In terms of setting up, we will allocate this in an area that is shaded, and we will make it look pretty, and we will include plates and cutlery. Please make sure that you have this included in your quote, because this is something that is not included in the catering quote, and if you need extra forks and plates, then that's not a problem. We can add it, but make sure that you let us know so that we can be prepared. Another element of the cake is the knife. We have got knives on our catalogue that you can rent. However, you could provide this yourselves. It's something that is not too expensive and that you can keep for as a memory of the wedding. So I would highly recommend that if you have got the time and the budget, that maybe you actually purchase your own knife and you can take back as a memory of your wedding day. Transportation is quite a lengthy question, so I'm leaving this until next week, where I'll be supplying a full video on how to arrange transportation, pickup points and all the elements that have to be factored in, and how we're going to start arranging for you to start booking this. If you have got a list of where everyone is staying, then it will be quite easy and we will be able to do this within the next few weeks. I would recommend that we do this the sooner the better. But as mentioned, let's leave this topic now until next week. Let's continue with the round of questions. In the unlikely event that there is a forecast for rain on the day of your wedding or on that same week, then the plan B would be we set up the tables under the covered porch. The porch has capacity for up to 7 tables, so each table will sit a maximum of 10 or 11 adults, and in this case you would have coverage for 77 people. In case your event is larger, we can look at allocating tables inside of the house, or for this week I do have a meeting with a company of tents in Ibiza, and I'm going to start sourcing quotes for setup of different sizes on the terrace for you to have the option of having the ceremony and the dinner service outside even if it rains. So I will be following up on this and sending you further information as soon as I have this. But if you feel that you don't want to go down the route of tents, then what we do is that for the full day we keep flexible. So basically, if there's a forecast for rain at the same time that the ceremony is due, we just hold back and we wait, and when the time is right and appropriate, then we make sure that the ceremony happens and your guests aren't getting wet. So these are things that, you know, we need to be flexible and work with the flow and make sure that, you know, we work around the unexpected. So I have looked for a picture to show the place setting, what it looks like, and it would be something like this. Basically, we set up a double setting of cutlery, a little small plate for your sharing starters, and the napkin. Table linens are white, the napkin is also white, and then any other elements of decoration, you can add these for yourselves. That could be a printed menu, the name placement, which is something that I would suggest that it is not paper, and if possible something a little bit heavy so it doesn't fly away. If not, you're going to need pegs, and we'll peg that to the napkin or in a little string around the napkin too. That's also another option. In terms of centerpieces, there is the space of the middle of the table, which is dedicated for the table centerpieces, but also I wanted to remind you that because of how the menus are structured, lots of this space is going to be taken up by your food. So make sure that this table centerpiece is small or not too large, and also where possible not too tall, because in the new terrace there can be a little bit of a draft, so it could be that this table centerpiece falls to the sides or breaks glassware on the table. So with that in mind, if you do put something tall, make sure it's got a big base and there's like a heavy element at the bottom, and if not, make sure that it's not too tall and that it, and it doesn't take up too much space. I'm going to include a link below for you to revisit the catalogue of the menus, and there you can find all the information. However, let me mention that we are still going to make a few changes for 2022 to this menu. So slight changes on canapes and some of the elements of the main meal. So if you are planning on printing, I would suggest that you wait a little bit. And as soon as we start finalizing menus and wine lists, we will also be sending that through to you so that you can prepare before the tasting event, and that also if you want to print anything out, that you can do this with plenty of time. This is going to happen within the next few weeks, so please bear with us as we are still working on this, and we will have this finalized quite shortly. So with this, we have finished our round of questions and answers. If you have any further questions, please go ahead and email these to me or include them in the comments below. Please remember also to subscribe to the channel, like, thumbs up if you've enjoyed it and if you find this useful, create a conversation below if you want to, and until next time, take care and enjoy the planning. Bye!